Tapta Jivanam Kaviviriditam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhuvi Krinanti Ye Purita Jana. To lives that are scorched with misery, your words are like nectar. They are auspicious to hear, and they are worshipped by sages, for they destroy sin. Those who spread thy words are the real benefactors of this world. The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. 4 classes of souls. Page 164, last para. Those who are following the reading from home with the book. Sri Ramakrishna. It is said that there are 4 classes of human beings: the bound, those aspiring towards liberation, the liberated, and the ever perfect. Obviously, in other places also, spiritually, these are the spiritual classes I'm talking about. The soul, by its real nature, is pure and perfect. It is one. But when associated with the limiting adjunct or upadhi of the body, the intellect, the senses, and the mind, and the ego, it takes on that coloring, that bondage. Bondage of the body, bondage of the mind, bondage of the senses, bondage of all the memories and the hundreds and millions of experiences. And the soul feels it is bound. Now, it is obvious from this classification. That's why they said there are many types of souls. Right down from the lowest living organisms to the highest. We don't need to be in an exclusive club saying only human beings have souls. But here Sri Ramakrishna is speaking about human beings. And he has classified them into 4 categories. And it's obvious that it's a kind of a pyramid type. We are not talking about hierarchy. We are just talking about the bound souls are numerous in number. Then those who are aspiring for liberation, they are few. As the Bhagavad Gita says, out of thousands struggling to know me, few know me. So we have the number which is kind of less there. How many people really want liberation? They say, what is liberation? Is it like $1 million? Oh no, it's not like $1 million. Billion? No. Then we don't want it. But that is the soul awakening to its bondage and wants to throw it off. These are the struggling soul, the soul struggling for liberation. Then Sri Ramakrishna says, the liberated, obviously, there are very few and far in between, as they say. The liberated. They are called the liberated while alive. It's not a post-mortem state. It's called a Jivan Mukti. Liberated while still alive. And then he says, the ever perfect. Why do these ever perfect be here with us? If they are ever perfect, why are they here? Well, they are here to help us. Help everyone, those aspiring for liberation. And those who are so tamasic, who are so covered with such darkness, their light gradually dispels the darkness. It's like a ray of light coming in a darkened room. And if the person is awake, when early in the morning you've had a nice sleep, you wake up and you don't know for a moment where you are. And then you see a ray of light coming to the chink in the curtains. It's coming, it's pouring. Well, if you see that ray of light, it's dawn. And I should get up and I should meditate, or I should exercise, I should work, I do something. But there are some people, they will turn on their side and sleep again. The bound souls are numerous, and the bound souls form a class by themselves because, they say, you scratch my back, I scratch your back. I help you, you help me. We are all in this together. So, let's form a big kind of army. And they set standards meant for themselves. And they want to impose those standards on others also, which of course is impossible. So there are these 4 classes of souls. Like I said, now this Sri Ramakrishna is speaking about souls in human bodies, not speaking about souls in creation. There also you find a kind of a tapering. It's a mass down below, and then it slowly tapers higher and higher and higher. As bodies get more and more refined through evolution, there is a display of something called intelligence. The higher evolution has pushed certain species, the more there is a display of intelligence. More, I said, it's not exclusive. We have intelligence displayed everywhere. And when the species becomes human, Homo sapiens, not even primates, Homo sapiens, there is something called that consciousness becomes, as it were, self-consciousness. You know what you are. That's a specialty in human beings. You know exactly what you are. People don't know you. Even your own family members might not know you, and they don't. Until and unless they're very, very sensitive. But you know yourself, you know your strengths, you know your weaknesses, you know what you're good at, what you're bad at, what you're lousy at. You know yourself. Intelligence has taken this form. It's very important. Because even after we become human beings, there is that old slime of evolution that has covered us. That also needs to be kind of washed away. It's only then we can recognize ourselves as spiritual entities. And the moment you realize yourself as a spiritual entity, you will start struggling to come out of bondage. And as you struggle to come out of bondage, you become liberated. So, when we look at people, it's everywhere. How are you? What are you? What's your name? We don't see that entire history of evolution behind that person. Why is that? Because that person cannot understand one's own long history of struggles and miseries and failures and successes. We take things for granted and we look at only the surface of things. So behind every struggling soul, there has been a long series of struggles. And it has led him or her to this point where the person starts asking, what is life? To those who have begun to ask this question, what is life? Oh. Then the answers start coming out. We must also know, looked at it from the standpoint of we spoke about a physical evolution of beings. It's a long journey that we have taken and we have reached up till here. When you look at the spiritual journey of that entity, the soul, that soul has gone through various bodies over and over and over and over again. This idea of a long travel does not flash in our minds. If it does, then it leads you to struggle to come out of bondage. Oh yeah, we are very, as they say, very, 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 very old souls. Ancient souls. We are long travelers down the paths of life. Whether you accept it or no, that is the truth. Those who live on the surface of things, they're there. They're the bound. Those who question life and its long evolutionary history, the spiritual history, they come out of this class to form another class. And as they struggle, they come to the third class, liberated. through the grace of the ever liberated. The moment you see some person struggling, spiritually struggling, know that that person is going to receive help. It's absolutely certain. There are certain laws in the spiritual world. When a soul awakens and wants to come out of its long slumber of ignorance, what happens is that soul receives grace. So Sri Ramakrishna now gives a well-known illustration. This world is like a fishing net. Men are like fish. People are like fish. And God, whose Maya has created this world, is the fisherman. The net is Maya. So this world is like a fishing net. It's very clear. The world is like a fishing net. Maya is like the fishing net. Souls are like fishes trapped in that net. And God is the fisherman. There. It's made it so simple for us to understand. So when he is now showing the differentiation. When the fish are entangled in the net, we are always entangled in the net. Some of them try to tear through the meshes in order to get their liberation. There it is. They are like the people striving after liberation. So a fisherman throws a net, and the souls are caught in that. There are some fish that struggle to come out of that net. But by no means all of them escape. There it is. As the Bhagavad Gita says, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye. Out of thousands, few struggle for perfection. And out of those thousands who are striving for perfection, few know me in truth. Saying only a few jump out of the net with a loud splash. And then the people say, there goes a big one. Wonderful. And we've seen, they throw that net, the fishermen throw that net. And there are some, as the net falls, the fish struggle and they escape the net. Some escape, not all. So those that escape, they say, there goes a big one. In like manner, 3 or 4 people attain liberation. Again, some fish are so careful by nature that they are never caught in the net. Some beings of the ever perfect class, like Narada, are never entangled in the meshes of worldliness. So even before the net is cast, these guys have escaped. They have cut themselves through the net. They are like, as it's a Vedantic saying, to inspire aspirants. Nirgacchati jagat pinjaradiva keshari. Keshari, like the lion that rushes out of a cage of the world. And the cage is kind of a flimsy cage made of straw. You think a cage of reed or straw or any flimsy material can hold a lion? No, it'll break through. So there are these souls that break through. So it's like that. So these are the four classes, he's saying. So Sri Ramakrishna continues, most of the fish are trapped, but they are not conscious of the net and of their imminent death. Now Sri Ramakrishna gives a detailed description of those who are the bound souls, the class of bound souls. They are not even aware that they are trapped. That is very strange. This is Maya. It makes the bound person think, I'm fine. I'm all right. See how happy I am. Who says I'm unhappy? This world is a beautiful place, nice. Yeah, it is, for the time being. So Sri Ramakrishna says, no sooner are they entangled than they run headlong, net and all, trying to hide themselves in the mud. They don't make the least effort to get free. So they are trapped. They are not conscious that they are trapped. And they take the net in their mouths and they plunge down deep, thinking they are safe, and wait. It's okay, everything is fine. We have company here, they'll say. Everything is full of, the place is full of other fish. Safety in numbers. Yeah. When the numbers are large, there's safety. Oh, yeah. And that's why you see birds and fish, they all kind of, birds flock together and fish, they form into big schools. Safety in numbers. Well, my neighbor got kind of dragged away, but I have this guy as a neighbor yet. I somehow escaped it. So this is how bound souls behave. For how long does this kind of state last? Oh, we do not know. We cannot be certain. But these ever perfect, these incarnations, they come in order to free us. We are just not left to our own devices, to our own scheming minds, to our own weaknesses. Help does come. So Sri Ramakrishna says, continue, they don't make the least effort to get free. On the contrary, they go deeper and deeper into the mud. These fish are like the bound people. They are still inside the net, but they think they are quite safe there. So this is what Instead of trying to get free, they get into more and more bondage. And we've seen it, human life is like that. You start a particular thing, an enterprise, anything, a private or a public or anything, or a group or a community or something. You start something, or you do your own kind of brooding on a particular thought, and that thought, as it were, keeps on growing and growing and growing. All actions and all actions, thoughts are also actions. They keep on spreading and spreading and spreading and spreading till you're spread out so thin, you become incompetent. You can't manage things. That's the nature of pravritti, nature of work, nature of the world. You start one thing, one becomes a two, and two becomes. Now it becomes quantum, it keeps on jumping. Geometrical progression, not arithmetical progression. 1, 2, 3. 1, 5, 8, 20, keeps on increasing in magnitude. And as it keeps on increasing in magnitude, you are left helpless. You've started something and you don't know how to stop it. It's like, an avalanche, It starts with a little snow slipping down the face of the mountain. And then it slips down, it brings something else along with it, and slowly it becomes a big ball of snow and keeps on rolling down. It brings along more snow, and by the time it reaches you can say, the valley beyond, it has become an avalanche, pulling things along. So how do we get out of this? This is the net. This is the net of Indra. In the heaven of the king of the gods, Indra, there is a net. It's called Indrajal, and that's why magicians in India magic is called Indrajal, and magic. That's a magic. It's a net. Throw a kind of a spell over you. Magical spell. So whatever you start, if you're not careful, it will drag you out. But this same mechanism can be used also to free oneself. You start with taking the name of God quietly, silently, sincerely, earnestly, secretly. And you find that one thought now progressively getting larger and larger and larger and larger and larger. That is the way to come out of this bondage. Well, if you're comfortable, you're free, you feel you're okay, it's okay. The world is not at a loss. Nothing kind of is ever reduced or increased by you can say, behavior when we are bound souls. So we have the bound souls, we have the souls struggling for freedom, for liberation, the liberated, and then the ever perfect. They are the Nitya Siddha. They are always perfect. Their hearts are so full of compassion. They come and try to help you. A bound creature is immersed in worldliness, in lust and greed, having gone deep into the mire of degradation. But still, that soul believes it is happy and secure. So these are the characteristics. Happiness, security in worldly things. It's there today, tomorrow it's not there. A body is there today, tomorrow is not there. Health is there today, tomorrow is not there. You have time today, tomorrow it's not there. You have money today, tomorrow it's not there. You have all the kind of peace and quiet today, tomorrow it's not there. Sri Ramakrishna continues, the liberated and the seekers after liberation look on the world as a deep well. They do not enjoy it. Therefore, after the attainment of knowledge, the realization of God, some give up their bodies, but such a thing is rare indeed. So these are the four classes of beings. Tapering, the ones that are bound are teeming below, like sediment. And as they say, the more is the merrier. That principle actually doesn't apply here, of course. Slowly, through the grace of the divine, certain souls buffeted in this crush of bondage want to come out of it. And we must understand that if we can hold on to someone who is not bound, then in time one becomes free. Like Swami Vivekananda, his quote from the Bhagavad Gita, Kalena Atmani Vindate. In time, they will know the Atman. Kalena. In time. So one must be able to struggle. One must be able to sustain the struggle. One must not be comfortable with one's state of mind or state of existence. There is a huge spiritual treasure waiting for all of us. And real spiritual treasure belongs to you. Giving up that spiritual treasures, we are running after glass beads, as Swami Vivekananda is running after the glass beads. How does the whole thing happen? Yeah. And God is the fisherman. Yeah. Sometimes, why did God do? It is God's will. None of your business. He never consulted me or you before he started the whole thing. Yeah. But why this whole scheme of things? That's the Leela, that's the fun part. Struggle and the light will come. So in the Bhagavad Gita also, 4 classes of people worship me. Chaturvida bhajate mam jana sukritinor jana arto artarthi jignasu jnani cha bhartarashava. 4 classes of people who are good Sukrita, those who are the performers of good deeds. Not the, I'm not, the Bhagavad Gita is just talking of 4 classes of people who are good people. And what are the 4 classes of these good people that worship the Lord? Artho artharthi jigna. Those afflicted. Those who want wealth, etc. Name and fame. Those who are the seekers, jignasu. The seekers of God, of course. For seekers of God, there's a book by Swami Shivananda's, For Seekers of God. I highly recommend that book. And the Jnani, the free, the person who knows, spiritual knowledge, who has. So these are the 4 classes of people, they worship God. You know, the good people everywhere, they suffer a lot. Maybe their good deeds and their behavior makes them sensitive. And they are the ones who really suffer. And they pray, oh God, why? Why me? They all worship God. The folk that. The afflicted, the seeker of the pleasure, etc., wealth, then the seeker of the spiritual knowledge, and the free. So to come out of this net of the world, start by doing good deeds, thinking good thoughts, speaking good words. This will now, in this teeming school of fish that you find yourself, slowly you'll find yourself being weaned away. Your own action itself will wean you away from the dense crush, and you'll come down out, maybe to the outer fringes. And perchance then you will come out of it. So the best way to come out of this bondage is keep on doing good things, think good thoughts, feel for others. Yeah, because, even saying something nice to some people helps you and helps the world also. Instead of being bitter and quarrelsome and jealous and spiteful, it's better to be nice. This will slowly make you, like I said, detach you from the other fish that have now taken that net in their mouth and are burrowing themselves deeper and deeper in the mud. So you are now kind of moving around in the net, looking for a kind of opening now. Don't we get out? So this is the first step. Chaturvida Vajate. 4 types of people worship me. The ever free, they worship God. The liberated, they worship God. The seekers of liberation, they worship God. And the bound souls also worship God. The bound souls, with the qualification of those that have started doing good karma. Have started slowly, one thing has led to the next and the next and the next. The avalanche has begun rolling. The spiritual avalanche. You are on the way to freedom. And like Sri Ramakrishna says, when an avatar descends, that avatar has a power to liberate millions of souls. And the power of an avatar is unconditional. Last Sunday's talk was role of grace in human lives. It's unconditional. But you will be able to catch that grace when you are struggling. Struggling to be good, then struggling to come out of the net, out of bondage. That's liberation. You get liberated. So you need to, when that idea of struggling comes out, you see, when you feel bondage, these are the first signs of a slight awakening of the soul. If you do not feel bondage, you do not feel bondage. Of course. There is no awakening. These are the people that are only bent, just bent in reveling themselves in bondage. We know what exactly this whole thing is. So that slight awakening is making you become good, and that goodness is now leading you towards liberation. You're a seeker of liberation now. And that seeking, that struggling for liberation, liberates you. So this is the scheme, the whole scheme of bondage and liberation. That is in the world. This is the reality. When you look at the city, you look at the people, you look everywhere, what do you see? You must be able to see this. And then become friends. Be in the company of the good. Leave the company of the wicked and the evil. And of course, birds of a feather flock together, as they say. The good start flocking together. And each person helps the other person become good. The other person helps me. It's a constant, you can say. If a person is bound, that person is going to make others bound also. You say, oh, what is this religious life? Are you gone crazy? What religious life is that? They are bound. That type of religious life is no good. Come with me. Let's go to the bar. Let's go to the movies. They are the ones who are comfortable with it. Those who are bound will make others bound. They bind others. So the evil-minded, the wicked, they always like to bind others down. While the good people, they try to help others, they try to liberate others, they push. So come and fall in this category. And then slowly, as you keep on doing good, you come out of bondage. Your soul awakens and wants to return to its real nature of purity and perfection and infinity. You have stepped on the path to liberation. Okay. We stop here for today. 4 classes of souls. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Do we have any questions, sir?
No questions.
Oh, thank you.